So, a couple years ago, I believe this was actually in preparation for Detective Pikachu coming out, Clay and I decided we were going to watch all of the Pokemon movies. All of the... It's weird to say mainline, because I know there's a couple that are technically not movies, they're TV specials, so we didn't count those. That's Mewtwo Returns and... I don't know what it's called, like the Mirage Island Mystery, like something like that. But we watched all of the mainline Pokemon movies, and then we watched Detective Pikachu. I believe there have been a couple since we watched all of them. I know I still haven't seen the Zarude movie, and I don't know if there's like another one or two after. It would not surprise me if there is. But after that marathon, Clay and I then embarked on a Pixar marathon, where we watched all the Pixar movies. Again, like we didn't really do any of the like shorts or anything, but from Toy Story to Soul, because Soul was the last one at the time. Since Luca has come out, Turning Red has come out, I think those are the only two, and I know Elemental is coming out, I think sometime next year. And I have seen both Luca and Turning Red. I don't think Clay has seen Luca yet, but I keep telling him to because I really liked it. After that, he and I did all the mainline Disney movies, like the animated, theatrical, big Disney movies, which we dubbed Operation 59, because there were 59 at the time, although while we were in the middle of it, Encanto came out, so it became Operation 60. After he and I finished that, Jose and I went through all of the Studio Ghibli movies. Is it Ghibli or Ghibli? I pronounce it Ghibli. I could be wrong about that. I'll eat crow if it's wrong, but that's just how I tend to do it. But we watched all of those. We included Nausicaa because it's not technically a Ghibli movie, but it might as well be, and most people essentially consider it one. So we watched everything from Nausicaa to Earwig. Well, he didn't watch Earwig, and he didn't watch Earthseas. Like, I just don't want to watch either of them. And honestly, I think Earthsea is fine. I kind of liked it. Earwig, it's not a bottom of the fucking barrel movie. I don't think Ghibli has one that's that bad, but I would say to me it was my least favorite. I don't really think he was missing anything. But with all that information out of the way, I say that because it is now time for a new quest. A new movie marathon. So, Disney's done. Pixar's done. Ghibli's done. Next is DreamWorks. Clay and I have officially decided we are going to go watch all the DreamWorks movies. I don't know exactly what the plan is. Like, are we going to do one a day? Is it going to be like one a week? I think it'll just kind of be whenever we can swing it, whenever we feel like we both mutually have time. I don't know if we have any double features planned, because I know one thing we tried to do is whenever there were like multiple bad movies in a row, we would try to double feature them. I know we did it with Home on the Range and Chicken Little. Chicken Little, honestly, a really funny movie. I think like the first third is so delightfully mean-spirited that it's hilarious. Then the other 2/3 of the movie are whatever. Home on the Range, I think, is the bottom of the fucking barrel for the mainline Disney movies. If someone likes it, hey, that's your movie. You are more than entitled to your opinion. If you love it, you love it. I don't. I really, really hate it. And for, I think Pixar, it was either Brave and the Good Dinosaur, or it was like Cars 2 and Brave. I don't remember exactly what the two movies in a row were, but I remember one of them was Brave, which I know is Clay's bottom of the barrel for Pixar, minus the Good Dinosaur, but Brave is right above it. It's like, I don't think it's good, but I hate the Good Dinosaur way more. And then, I don't know if Jose and I ever did a double feature for a Ghibli movie. It wouldn't surprise me, but not in a sense of, these are two bad movies, let's get them out of the way, and just more like, hey, do you want to just watch another one because these are great? So I don't know if we... Sorry, I don't know if I kept going. I just had a call pop up. I did not recognize the name, so I immediately sent it to voicemail. Well, I don't know if they'll call back. I don't know what's about to happen. But anyways, point. I don't know if we have any kind of double features planned or anything like that, but we have officially started because last night he and I watched Antz. This is a movie, I've seen it one time before yesterday, 20 years ago. I know it was the first time I lived in Okinawa, which is sometime between like 1999 and 2001. Maybe I was there in 2002. I don't super remember, but early to mid 2002 are probably the latest. So it's been 20 years. I remember as a kid not liking this movie, thinking it was very unpleasant, ugly, just like I didn't get it. I also, around that time, had probably seen A Bug's Life like 5 times. It is a movie I adored as a kid, probably one of my most watched movies ever. As an adult, I still really like it and have a lot of love for it. A lot of that is nostalgia. A lot of it is also, I think this is a very solid movie. I don't think it's one of Pixar's best, but that's less about A Bug's Life not being up to snuff and just more of Pixar's catalog is insane because these are some of my favorite movies ever. And this one is just kind of more, I think, in the middle. But again, it's not a mid movie. It's just banger after banger after banger. Someone's going to end up getting knocked down the list. It happens. Despite the fact that I hadn't seen it in 20 years, and my memories of it were, I hate this nasty thing, I remembered quite a bit of the movie. Like, I remember the way the main characters looked. I remember the way the antagonist, like, 2 bugs looked. I remembered the termites. I remember that scene of them all just, like, swarming down the hill. I remember the look of the Sylvester Stallone ant, because that's a thing. I remember him dual-wielding pickaxes and just hitting the wall because he's digging. I remember the giant shoe coming down. I remember the 2 wasps, which I remember thinking they were bees, but we were rewatching this, I'm like, oh, that's not a bee, I think that's a wasp. So, but I remember what they looked like. It was just ever so technically wrong. I remember the woman being very nice, the guy being kind of a dick, the woman wasp died, and then the guy helped them out. One thing that was different was, I don't remember it being a fly swatter that got it. I remember it being a shoe because the shoe happens right after. I also very distinctly remember, which is wrong, but I remembered the shoe coming down on her, and when the shoe came back up, there was this like yellowy goo dripping from it, because that is one of the things I vividly remembered the most. And I was like, I don't want to, it's so gross. Why would you do that? And then I rewatched it and I was like, oh, they didn't do that. Like, yeah, she dies. It happens. You don't see the thing hit her. You just see her husband, like, next to her. She's, like, crumpled, but she's not, like, gooey or, like, really, like, fucked up. She's just kind of dead. Which, yeah, I mean, so for a kid, that's maybe a little traumatizing. It certainly traumatized me, but I thought it was way worse. What else do I... Oh, another couple things I remember. Just, like, bits of dialogue. Because I do remember the... This is for the good of the colony, sir. I am the colony. And then he like runs up and dies. But the line of dialogue I have never forgotten from this movie is after the General Bug sends them off on a suicide mission, one dude comes back. He's like, sir, you know, there is some good news. There's a survivor. And I'll always remember the damn good. Damn good. Always stuck with me, like 20 years since I was like, oh, in this movie, they say, damn, this movie badass. Also, I hate this movie. That's like 20 years ago me was saying I hate this movie, because 29-year-old me? Was I 9 years old when I watched this movie? I guess. I was anywhere from like 7 to 9 or so when I watched it. Now as an adult, I don't love this movie. But I feel like I'm okay with this movie. I'm good with this movie. I like a lot of the writing. Because, like, yeah, this is a DreamWorks movie. It's very mean-spirited. It's a lot more adult. You know, people are drinking. They talk about, like, oh, yeah, like your aphid beard. He's like, yeah, I don't really like the idea of drinking from another animal's anus. So, like, yeah, that definitely... That kind of writing is something I would not see in a Disney movie, but them drinking beer, that's definitely feels like an old Disney movie, and I kind of respect that. The main character is Woody Allen. Now, his name is Z, and he's voiced by Woody Allen, but he's a Woody Allen character. You know, like, the way he talks, the way his whole character is just kind of super neurotic. Like, this is... not what I was expecting, because I did not remember, or like, again, I remember what the main character looked like. I didn't remember his story. The only thing I really remembered from him was after the war, him holding the head of one of his friends and telling me, he's like, hey, I'm going to try to find your body. And then he's looking around, and then he just sees the war zone and just all these, like, ant bodies around. I remembered that pretty vividly, actually. Like, again, it was a very memorable movie, but I don't remember liking it. And I feel like a lot of it is, I don't think the characters are that memorable. Like, their designs, sure, because I just remembered how this movie looked. But if you ask me, like, what are their characters? Z is a very neurotic person who just kind of wants to find his place. Well, the scene at the beginning where he's having a therapy session, and he talks about, he's like, I feel like insignificant. Like, things to me wouldn't matter. And his therapist tells him, he's like, hey, you made a breakthrough. You're insignificant. You don't matter. Like, that's really funny. But again, the mean-spiritedness of it. But, like, that's so funny. The soundtrack in this movie bops. I don't think I brought that up. But it's really good, really catchy. Okay, I remember the end credit music because I remember it being the, whoops, there goes another rubber tree plant, 'cause he's got high hopes. I don't know why I'm doing that with my hands, but, like, I remembered that. I don't know why I remembered so much of this movie, but he's not a super memorable character. He's not unlikable, but he's not super likable either. The princess, her name, Princess Bala, I think, is just, I don't really want to be a princess. Let me try and do, I don't know, let me go kind of slum it up for a night. Hey, this guy looks pathetic. Let me hang out with him. You're like, you're not super unique. I don't hate you, but I don't super like you either. The bad guy, like, his whole plan is, I want to use the worker ants to build a giant tunnel, fill it with water so they all die so I can ethnically cleanse the clan. Okay, wasn't expecting their first movie to be about ethnic cleansing, but here we go. He's an idiot. Okay, so it's like he's a very smart character because when it comes to being like political and manipulating people, he does it really easily. He's very good at it. But when you look at his plan, it's, I have to get rid of the weak so the strong survives. It's like, okay, you got kind of a Darwinist mentality. But you want to get rid of all the workers who do all the shit? Why? It's like, it makes us stronger. It's like, yeah, you'll have a bunch of soldiers who aren't trained to do any of the grunt work. You're stupid. You're just dumb. But, what was it? There's a scene I really like in the movie, which is Z comes back from the war, which is damn good. And, he's kind of paraded a bit as a war hero. I guess there's kind of two scenes I like that are all kind of connected. So there's that. And it's made very, very clear that even though, he's being presented as a war hero, and that's really nice, they have no intention of looking after him after the war. It's not like you came back, soldier, you're going to be taken care of. We're going to do all this nice stuff for you because you earned it, you deserve it. It's cool, we're going to parade you around. It's going to be really nice. Then you just go back with whatever you've got. The movie doesn't really dwell on that because it's not a movie about veterans or PTSD or anything. But I was like, I see that. Excuse me. It's not something that hits me particularly hard, but I know that is a big social issue. I was like, I was not expecting to see that in Antz. I respect it for that. The other scene is after he kidnaps the princess. Okay, there's also a scene where a kid with a magnifying glass just nukes an ant. You're like, oh boy, this is certainly a film that... Is this a kid's movie? I don't think it is. But regardless, all the worker ants are just kind of talking about Z. They're like, yeah, like there was a guy like who came back from war, and it's like, they're like, oh, he could do this stuff, he can do this, and how the rumors keep building and building and building, and then Sylvester Stallone, what's his name, like Weaver or some shit. He's like, yeah, Z, I know Z, he's my friend, he and I switched places, he was a worker, and they're like, wait a second, he was a worker? He was just like us? And he decided he didn't want to work anymore? Well, that's awesome. I don't want to work anymore. I don't want to do this. And I love how just the rumor mill just gets going, and how this dude's story is completely blown out of proportion, and how not even overnight, over like 2 minutes, just become like this revolutionary hero without really doing anything. I feel like there's a little bit of commentary in, I don't know if it's a little, but I mean, there's definitely commentary in there how a rumor can just spread and spread and spread. And if you don't do anything with it soon, it will be just out of your control. And even if you do pounce on it, people can still twist your words and make it something else. Just very interesting, especially in the age of, the internet and social media and all that. But I also was just like, this is a really entertaining and funny scene. And this one, the foreman's like, hey, get back to work. Why? Why? What do you mean, why? It's not why. I'll get back to you on that. I really liked it. So far, one movie in, it's not, I mean, to me, it's not starting off with, like, Toy Story, which is genuinely one of my favorite movies of all time. Or Nausicaa, or Laputa. Because, again, Nausicaa is not technically a Ghibli movie. Laputa is. Nausicaa, I think, is a very good film. It's a very good start. Laputa is my second favorite movie of all the Ghibli movies. So, like, that started off with a banger. Snow White, I think it is a solid film. Like, I think as Clay said it, it's a very good museum piece. As a movie, I think it's okay. I don't super really get into the story. It's very light on story. But the movie looks great. I will never take that away from it. And it's like, yeah, this is the first, like, fully, I think it is the first fully, like, animated feature film. It's great. It's the one that started it all. Has all my respect. This is a very solid step forward. I don't know if I'm like, this is a great first impression. I think if it had started with Shrek, like, that's a great first impression, which I think he and I are going to skip Shrek just because we watched it very recently. Like, we just saw it. We're not really going to watch it again. Neither of us would really be opposed to watching it again. It's Shrek. We love us some Shrek. We've actually been bugging each other to watch Shrek 2 for quite a while, and we just keep not doing it, which is kind of, I think, one of the reasons we're doing this. Like, we've been talking about doing DreamWorks for a while. We really want to watch Shrek 2, and screw it. Let's just go ahead and do it. But, like, I think Antz is a fine step forward. It doesn't leave a bad first impression. I'm like, I think these characters are okay. I think a lot of the ideas and set pieces are really good. I think a lot of the writing around the characters is really good. But their actual, like, personalities, the decisions that they make, and some of the pacing feels a bit awkward, kind of iffy. So, I don't know if I didn't really think about, like, a number grade. I don't have any notes. I'm just going off the cuff. If I were to give it a letter score, I think I kind of agree with Clay. It's like a C+, maybe a B-. I think I'll say a B-, because I did find myself enjoying it. And the fact that I remembered so much of this movie after 20 years, I have to give it its credit for being memorable. So I would say it's a solid B-. Good job. I was about to say, like, we'll see what's next. I'm like, next is Prince of Egypt, which is an absolutely phenomenal movie. Like, if that was the first step forward, you're like, guys, like, you started with an S-tier movie, because, spoiler alert, I think The Prince of Egypt is an S-tier movie. I know right after that is The Road to El Dorado, which, I don't know if it's quite an S-tier movie. I haven't watched it in a while, but worst case scenario, it's an A+, because I adore it. I don't know what's after that. It might be Shrek. It might be, like, Sinbad, which I've never seen. Kind of looking forward to watching it. But anyways, we started a DreamWorks marathon. Started with Antz. Very solid first impression. Not the best movie. Certainly not the worst. I liked it a lot more than I did 20 years ago. Really looking forward to Prince of Egypt.